Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative. Today we are going to make a star. We're going to make it using the Alumilite ceramic resin. You'll notice, and I just have a tip for you in case. So this star that we're going to be making, the ends of this don't always sit straight. This one actually has a bit of a bend to it, and I had noticed that when I made it a long time ago with resin, that the tip was actually twisted a little bit. What I decided to do, and I happen to have some bigger magnets around, is I thought, well, what if we put magnets at the bottom and the top just to hold it in place? And that feels like it's going to work for me. I thought I would share that with you in case you were wondering, so what's the point of what you've got here? They are magnets and they're meant to hold it. I got these, I'm trying to think if I got these from Amazon or Temu. I'm not sure which one I got it from because, again, it was a long time ago. Anyways, I thought I would share that with you. And I'm looking at my mold, and it doesn't look very clean. So I want to get that. I had cleaned it up a little bit, but it's got some stuff on it. I'm not sure what it is that's on it. Oops, I'm going to have to straighten that up again. Not sure why or what that is. Isn't that great? You always think you got everything under control when you're doing these videos, and then, yeah, I don't know what. I almost think it's glue, but I'm thinking I haven't had glue in this mold. Let's just damp that off a bit. And that's just what you wanted to watch, right? Not really. I know. I wouldn't want to watch this either. This part of it anyway. I apologize for taking you through this. Hopefully it won't mess up my piece too much. I've got some of it off now, so that should be good. And we'll just realign my magnets a little bit. There, just to get it straight. That looks pretty good. Okay, we're just going to be using the Alumilite, and we're going to be making this white. We're not going to color this whatsoever. I want it white. You'll notice over here, and I have this star, and it's pretty gold, isn't it? Yes, pretty gold. Anyway, this was actually made out of plaster of Paris, because when I made this, I was actually doing some experimenting with ceramic resin and plaster of Paris, because I had seen some video where people were using plaster of Paris as opposed to a ceramic resin. A couple of things. This stuff is not near as strong as what ceramic resin is. So if you want to use it, please be aware of that. This technically should, and which end was it? This end should have a hook on it. I actually broke that off in the process of spray painting this, because that's what I did to this piece. I spray painted it. If this had been ceramic resin, I think I would have been okay. I don't think the tip would have broken up. But all I did was I sanded it down a little bit, and I thought I can put a hook on the back of it. The other thing with plaster of Paris is it is very absorbent of color. If you were to make, if we decided to color, if I was doing 2 examples of this, and we were coloring the ceramic resin and we were coloring the plaster of Paris, you would notice the plaster of Paris will take on color so well. It would, if we did golds, it would be gold, like a really, probably a really pretty gold, and the ceramic resin not so much, because we know that the ceramic resin is very white, whereas the plaster of Paris, the stuff I have anyways, is more of a grayish tone to it. But normally use plaster of Paris on walls or something like that. It's not really meant for art unless you have a way of strengthening it. And I think I had done a couple of pieces where I mixed the ceramic resin and the, oh, I've already lost the word, plaster of Paris, to strengthen the plaster of Paris, which is a totally doable thing. I have also got fragments of fiberglass that I can put in resin pieces to make them stronger. And I haven't done a lot with that. I did it on a phone stand because the phone stands I found were warping or bending because of the weight of the phone on them. Anyway, so this has been spray painted. It took the color beautiful, and the color I used was this is a new brand that I've noticed Michaels has, and what I've seen of it, it's actually meant for graffiti. This is a gold that I've been using for this piece, and it goes on, I find, very nicely. I do this out in my garage. I will not do this in the house. One, because I do not want the splatter on my walls, and two, because I have better ventilation outside than I do in the house. But I wanted to show this to you. The other that I used was this PBO spray, which is a glitter gold, and I'm really enjoying the PBO. It just goes on very nicely, and it's been a breeze to work with, which I love too. I did one coat on the back of this of the gold and one of the glitter, just on the back of this, and I don't know if you can see the glitter or not. And then on the front, I did 2 coats of the gold and 2 coats of the glitter. And I think this looks beautiful. Right now, I know it's a star, and I know Christmas, well, Christmas is, you know, what, almost less than 6 months away. Wow, we're getting there close, aren't we? But if you did something like this and then put it outside, if you had a walkway, and I'm thinking of if you put a stand, not a stand, but a stick of some sort or a metal piece on the back of this, you could actually put it in your garden, or you could put it on a walkway. I think that'd look really pretty, not just for a tree. That's really what I think they're meant for, but they're big enough that you could stand that outside somewhere. Now I am wanting to try, they have silver in this, and what's it called? Ironlak. I've never heard of the brand name before. They have it in a silver. So obviously the color they're portraying on the top, that's kind of what I was hoping for. And I don't know if it would come out that color on anything else, but I do think it's a beautiful gold, regardless of the fact that it doesn't match that, but I think it's a beautiful gold. And I do want to try the silver. So I'm going to put that off to the side. What we're going to do is we're going to experiment. And I wasn't going to do this. I was just going to make it, show you the star I had already made, just so you could see how brilliant these colors were. And then I thought to myself, knowing that the plaster Paris is so good and so porous as far as pulling in color, what kind of response will I get from the Alumilite ceramic resin? So that's what we are going to test that. I wanted to get this video up sooner than later, and I'm thinking, no, we want to test this out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to see how the Alumilite takes the color. The other thing I was doing, because I didn't get the sides completely done, okay, I took my chrome marker by Let's Resin, and I've been using it on the sides. And again, the porous of this is sucking it up very well, taking it in very well, call it what you want. But I just needed to, you know, do the sides because the spray paint wasn't getting to the sides. Now, I suppose what I could have done is take some of that spray paint, and I don't know how well this would have worked, put some into a cup and then used it to do the sides, but I think this is a lot easier to do that. And it's matching, not exactly, but matching well enough that your eyes aren't going to be taken away from the actual front of the star. So I've went back to my book to see how much I needed of the product to put in. 20 mils of the Alumilite, and I have 56 of their liquid. I've got the bottle here if I need a little bit more. And we will do this, we'll let it set up, and once it's dry, we will let it sit for its 24 hours, and then I'll do at least one coat of the spray paint. I mean, it's really the spray paint I'm most interested in, and when I say that, I'm talking about the gold. The glitter, once we have a coating of the gold on there, the glitter is just going to sit where it sits, and it's not going to soak into anything. So that's not as big of a deal to me. Get that off to the side. I had my mixer. I just wanted to make sure where it was, and I have some extra molds just in case I have too much. I don't think I will, but in case I do, always safer, better to have something. So let's get this mixed up. I have more mixed mold. I'm just wanting to use up the Alumilite just because I don't know how long their liquid will last. And I'm almost thinking I probably would have been smarter, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I was going to say I should have a better cup to pour out of, because I'm not sure how well that's going to go for me. So we'll just get this mixed up. And always get around the sides and the bottom. I mean, I can feel this getting stuck at the sides. And I like tapping my stick at the side here just to get any product off the beater. And I'm going to probably stretch across. I guess I could just put it back into my, I have another container I can put it back into, so. So what are you guys getting up to? Are you being creative, or you were outside? I know, I ask these questions, you know, we get into certain seasons, and it's like, okay, Natalie, find a different question to ask these guys. Do you like the magnet idea? I don't know, this is kind of a specific mold, but I wonder if there are other molds we've got out there that we could use them on just to keep things straight, or straighter. Alright, so let's just tap that off. I think what I am going to do is I'm going to put it back into this container so I can pour this a lot easier, just because it's got the spout on it, and we'll just start in the center and let it go from there. Let's see how well I can do this. Get it going. Obviously I'm not going to be bouncing this thing around. Trying to get it to go up and over its edges here so we get it everywhere. I'm probably going to let this sit for, well, a good hour, probably 2. And I'm noticing I'm bending a little bit here, so we will. Let's get the rest of this in here. You know me, I like to leave things longer than I need to. Again, just so that I don't end up with pieces breaking off. Now, this is a pretty standard mold, not a lot of, you know, tippiness to it or whatnot. So I think we'll be okay taking it out after an hour. But it won't hurt to let it sit. Now, as I say, I'm noticing it's sort of bending at the top. So I think I'm going to get some more of my magnets and spread that around, and I'm going to very quickly clean out this container because I don't want this setting in there. And I'm going to put my gloves on because I don't want to get this stuff on my hands. Not that it matters. I'm not concerned about getting it on my hands, but just for sake of not getting it all over my hands, I'd rather get it on the gloves. So we did pretty good there, and once I kind of get this container cleaned up, I really should have had water in here, eh? For this and the little beater that I've got, but I'll just... It's interesting, I'm getting color off of this beater that I'm using. That's too funny. At least it didn't come off on there, right? So that's a good thing. All right, so we have no extra for anything else, so bonus. Let me get the gloves on. Got gloves off, and then we'll see if we can't sort of set that so it's not bowed at the top there like it is. So good thing I know that now. Put these over here and see if we can't get a couple of these two. And I want to be really, really careful on this, eh? There we go. Wow. So a really cool trick is to do this. Now what I might do as well, yeah, see, I can push it in there, and now it's more centered. That's brilliant. I am really glad I thought about that. That's a good tip for us. Alrighty then. So we will leave this now. We'll let it to set up for the hour that it needs, at least an hour. And I've got some other stuff going on while this is drying, so I'll probably leave it longer than that. Again, my only concern would be the tip up here, that we don't break that when we take it out. So let's leave it for as long as we need to. I'll probably cover it up as well. Not that it's going to matter because we are spray painting it. We'll take it out and then we'll let it sit for the 24 hours and then we'll spray paint it and we'll see, we'll compare how well this takes the color versus what the plaster of Paris did. I think it'll be a cool little experiment. And again, too, if you wanted to make something less expensive and you wanted to mix the two, fair enough. I would probably do it more with the mixed mold than I would do it with the Alumilite. It may not matter, but because we use water for the ceramic, for the mixed mold, and this Alumilite has its own special little product here to mix it with, I don't know if I tried that or not. But regardless of that, I will let you go. I will let this set up. I love that the magnets are doing what they're doing. So that's brilliant. And we will be back in a little bit. Alrighty then. It is time for us to take this out. This has had probably 3 hours to sit. I had other things going on and I thought that's cool. It sits longer. It sits longer. There are a few comments I want to make as I got thinking after I had shut down the recorder to let this set up. Okay, now I talked about putting this outside potentially. I would not recommend putting this plaster of Paris outside in inclement weather just because I see that not turning out well. I would definitely, even if you did put this outside somewhere, I would put it where it's protected. I would also put a sealant of it, some sort, and I'm thinking resin, just because it would make it more not safe, more secure, less likely to break. And I would probably err on the side of doing a couple of coats. As I say, plaster of Paris is brittle, so you do run the risk of it breaking a lot easier than what a ceramic resin would. So I thought, oh, I better point that out because I don't want anyone making something like that and then you put it outside and all of a sudden it just disintegrates into nothingness. I'm sure the paint that's on it, it would help as a sealant. And I've already taken my paint cans back out to the garage. And there was something on it that I wanted to take note of. But when I paint this, I will see if I can remember to make note of that. Coat. Yeah, so coating, I would recommend coating it if it does go outside. And it may even be a good idea to coat this too. Again, we know ceramic resin would be, I don't see it being as porous once it's completely set. Now, one of the other ideas I had for something like this, if you were doing it, so if we think of a star that's put on a Christmas tree, normally it has lights around it. So I had wondered about not putting on the front because this has got some nice detail on it and I don't want to take away from that. But what if we put some lights on the back? And again, you'd have to figure out how to secure the lights, but you could use UV resin and secure the lights on the back of it so it shines out from behind it, which I think might be kind of cool. Now, you could always see really tiny lights about stringing them in and around here if you wanted to, but I'm thinking the back for myself. But the idea of, because you can get really tiny lights now, of just sort of having it string itself around. So that's an idea. I wanted to share that with you. Now, the other thing I got thinking about after I'd shut down my filming was the magnets. Now, I love the idea of these magnets being around here to keep this secure. I did slightly move the two at the side here, these two back ones, because I thought, ooh, now if I have these and there's pressure from the magnets because they're attaching themselves to one another, do I run the risk of messing up the front of this? I love the concept of these magnets. I think it's very helpful. We need to be aware of, is it going to mess with the pattern on the other side? So we're going to find that out now. So I'm just going to take my magnets and put them off to the side, and fingers crossed. But I did think about this. I went, ooh, what if? So hopefully not what if, and hopefully there's not a problem with the pattern side of this, because if there is, well, that's my doing. I do have smaller magnets that might work as well. So just be aware of that. Where are you placing your magnets, and is there a possibility it's going to mess with your mold? So let's hope this has not happened with this, and we'll find out once we take it out. Now this is still really damp. Like I can feel the dampness through this, and we know that. So let's very carefully take this off. I would have had to have been a lot more careful if I just made this out of plaster of Paris. Like I say, that stuff is fragile. So take note, if you decide to make something out of plaster of Paris, to be really careful with it. So we're going to be very careful. And again, we need to be really careful around that hole that we don't break it. It's like dealing with a very fine china. It's like, let's not break it. I mean, I know I can fix it, but I don't really want to have to fix it. And I guess if you were going to be, putting this on a stick and putting it outside, or, putting it somewhere using that type of setting, if you will, and make sure you always wash these out, right? In case you're putting resin in. So there we go. So this is the top, and I just want to have a look. It doesn't look like putting those magnets on either side caused an issue with this, so that's brilliant. I just be aware. That's all I'm asking you to do, is just be aware if you're going to use magnets that are big, like these ones are, okay? Because they're a fair size, right? So you want to be really careful if you're going to be using something like this. I bought these for a totally different reason, and I hope to be doing a video shortly on that. But anyway, so I'm going to put this on my stand. We are definitely going to let this dry. The directions do say to let this sit for at least 24 hours, as we know with ceramic resin in general. I really need to get a new, this one isn't very good. I have another one laying around somewhere that I should really get out. But we're going to let that sit. We're going to let that dry for the next 24 hours. Then what I'm going to do is, before I bring you back, is I am going to spray this, and we'll see, how the gold shows up on this. And I'll do a couple of coats on the front of this so you get to see it, because then we can do a comparison between what the, I hate when I do this. Plaster of Paris has done and soaked it up versus what this is going to do. Because I have, the expectation is that this is not going to soak up the paint like the plaster of Paris. And I know I've got a little air bubble here, so I might see about fixing that up. I mean, otherwise we did very well on that. Anyway, we will come back when I have the 2 coats of paint on this so we can see and compare it. And I will be putting sprinkles like the sparkly spray paint on it as well. And at some point, I know I'm going to end up with the silver, because I really like how this gold, again, how this gold turned out. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And I want to see just how impressive the silver is. Anyways, that's it for now. We will come back when we are ready to see how this looks with gold paint on it. I'll see you then. Well, welcome back. So this has been a process for me, but I've got all but one sparkly coat of the PBO gold glitter spray on this piece. And this is what I've ended up with. All right. So this is how it looks. As with the other one, I've got to do the sides on this, because I, attempted to do my best as far as getting the spray paint on, but I haven't gotten it everywhere, and that's okay. I'm not sure as if there is a way of doing that you would actually be able to get in all the spots. So if anyone's really efficient at spray painting and would have tips on how to do that, I would love to hear them. I always like getting tips on things because I don't know, I absolutely do not know everything. I've learned by doing, and I'm not efficient at spray painting, but I think I did a pretty good job on this. So I'm going to pat myself on the back for the job I have done. I do think it needs, I kind of went a little heavier with the first coat of glitter on this, but I want some more on it because I think it would look really nice, you know, with the light catching on. So I'm really hoping you're able to see the glitter on this, but I'm not sure if my camera is picking it up. On the back, I did one coat of the gold and one of the glitter. Again, I'm trying to debate whether or not it would be, like if I just kept this inside, whether it would be a good idea to put a clear coat of something on this just to protect it and keep the glitter from coming off. Having said that, I mean, anything that's got glitter on it usually ends up coming off at some point, right? Now you'll notice on the bottom here, there's I've got a bit of a wow in this. Let me turn it this way so you can see it a little bit better. It wows on this side. So I didn't quite get it right with my magnets, but that's okay. At least it's not a glaring, I don't think, mistake. So let's turn it over. And I just want to look at it. So I think from the back, you can see it more than you can see it at the front here. So that's cool. I think color-wise, I don't think there's been much of a change. Weight-wise, there's definitely a difference between these two. Not a huge difference, but this one made with the, oh, here we go again, plaster of Paris, as I sit and think about it, is definitely lighter. And it's not really meant for what I've made it for, so it is lighter. As far as the air bubbles go, I did a lot better. I only had the one on this, so I'm totally cool with that. I can use my chrome markers to do up the sides of this. We talked a little bit about if we were to put really tiny lights in and around this or in behind it. If we were putting it outside, I would definitely want to seal this with something. I think either one of them. I think as far as taking the color on, I know plaster of Paris would probably take the color in more than what this one did. But I think overall, the color is, you know, they're pretty close to one another, I think. Now, granted, you may think, well, it's the same color, Natalie, so what difference is that going to make? I figured because the plaster of Paris could soak in the color that this would be a lighter color than this one, because this is more dense. It's not going to suck in the color like the plaster of Paris has. This one may be slightly darker. I don't think there's a huge difference. I think if we had them side by side, I'm not sure you would really notice. I'm going to let this dry up some more. Have I rushed it a little bit? I did rush it a little bit so I could get this video done. But overall, I think it turned out pretty cool. And I like the concept of doing this because we know that with the ceramic resin, trying to get a pure, really true color is a bit of a challenge. So if you're willing to take the time, you got spray paint. It's another option to make a piece and make it very vibrant. Again, I mean, you could paint it by hand. This, for me, would not be a piece I would want to paint just because of my skill set isn't, I know it may sound really odd, but I don't like this, like, paintbrush strokes on things. So for me, the spray painting is much more efficient. And I think if you have a really good brand, that is helpful as well. You could put a little half jewel on this just to add to it if you wanted to. I haven't given a lot thought of, you know, what else we could do with this. Okay, the only other thing I had thought about, and I won't touch this one, I'll play with this one because I know it is dry, is if we put some sort of stencil on the back of this. All right, you don't have to, again, I'm just throwing ideas at you. you do you. I think that's incredibly important that that happens. I wondered maybe even if something were just to go in the center here. Just to finish it off a little bit from the fact that depending on what you're doing, again, I like something on both sides. The other thing you could do, now this would make them very heavy, is if you put two of them together. If you could align two of them and then find a way of for sure securing them really well so that you didn't run the risk of them coming apart. And I'm not sure what that would be. So I will leave that with you, but we could just, in general, just let me pick this up. So if we did something like this. Now, I'm not exactly on point with this. This other one's a little off the beaten path, but I mean, you could do something like that. Okay, if you wanted to. So that's another option for you. Granted, it's going to be a little heavy because, well, it's going to be a little heavy. So you would really want to secure this again wherever you're putting it so it doesn't fall and break or fall and, you know, hurt somebody, because this, I could see, yeah, there's a bit of weight on that. You wouldn't want that falling on, you know, onto a foot or onto a head or anything like that. So, but it is another option. If you did it in resin, it would be better because I think the resin would be a lot lighter than what this is. But so again, let your imagination go a little crazy. I mean, it's not quite 6 months to Christmas yet, so you got time. And you could do this in so many different colors. I mean, the options and the possibilities are really there. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found this helpful to see another way that we could really brightly color the ceramic resin, and some ideas that I've given you on, you know, potentially decorating it up a little bit. And I mean, even if you wanted to and you had the patience and I get a bit of a shake every once in a while, but you could fill in the little grooves on this and decorate it up even more with something or somehow. So again, it depends on how much time you want to spend on your piece, what you're doing it for. I think that's important. And yeah, how wild and crazy do you want to go with the piece? So that's totally up to you. Anyway, drop your comments below what you think of this idea of spray painting this as opposed to either painting by hand or trying to color it with something. And I guess one thing you could do is if you did color the ceramic resin and then poured it and then spray painted it, you know, the edges may be less of something you have to deal with, depending on how close you can get your colors. So that's it. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you for, you know, following along. And to those people who appreciate the longer videos, thank you for letting me know that, because I just can't. So take care, be creative, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.